at Sonic Rodeo with Mr. Lennon Roach to talk about an upcoming event that we're collaborating with him on April 6th that involves an album release party, a charity ride for the Heroic Hearts Project, and one hell of a show. So, Lennon, tell us a little bit about who you are.
My name's Lennon Roach. I have lived in Vegas for about 5 years, or maybe 6. I've got stationed here back in 2018. I spent 8 years in the Air Force as an explosive tech, explosive specialist, which was a great time. I got to see a lot of countries, got to meet a lot of different people, and it ultimately landed me here in Vegas, where I say all these shiny lights distracted me and pulled me away from that life a little bit. It was time to check out anyways, and playing music with the people that I've gotten to play music with and with this family of Sonic Rodeo has really helped that transition and turning into something that I never would have thought as a kid would turn into.
Were you a musician during the military, your time in the military, or is this something that you've just kind of started exploring since you've been out?
Growing up, my dad was a drummer, so when I joined the military, I didn't have that outlet. You know, I used to try to follow in his footsteps and play drums, and then when I was stationed overseas, where I spent the first half of my career, really kind of pushed me into singing and songwriting, because we have such tiny living quarters and couldn't have a drum set up. So there was a lot of music that I played when I was in the military, but it wasn't until I got here that I actually started to see that it could be something that if I wanted to take it seriously, maybe it could be fun, even if it was just for a short chapter.
Tell us a little bit about your music and kind of the, how would you describe your music?
We've kind of thrown a couple different terms around. We've called it soulbilly. There are some people that would call it country, but in the grand scheme of things, we're an American roots rock and roll band that has a lot of Southern influence. I grew up in Alabama. My father was very into Southern rock as I was growing up, and still sends me things that I pull influences from. Some would call it country, some would call it rock and roll, but regardless, it's just real music with real players. And the songwriting process, as I've met different people throughout the city that have come in and helped us with this project, it's turning into the sound that I want it to turn into, and I'm really excited for people to hear what we've got going on.
So tell us a little bit about what inspired you for this event.
The album that I'm releasing, the Life I Stole EP, comes from a perspective, and I'm talking about a lot of the struggles and disdain that I had when I was in my last couple years in the military, and you can definitely tell that I wanted to separate from that life. In that separation, I got linked up with the charity Heroic Hearts Project. A good friend of mine, Casey, who lived here in Las Vegas, told me about some of his struggles with depression and PTSD from his deployments. And I had always watched the charity a little closely to see kind of what their activism was about. And he eventually reached out to me shortly after I separated and sent me on a psychedelic retreat in South America to Peru. Went with 8 other combat veterans, and it was absolutely life-changing. I mean, these songs were written before I had left, but after doing that with those guys and kind of working through my own healing process as this stuff is starting to come out, songs are starting to mean something a little differently. So I said to myself, I want to give back to this charity and this community as much as I can, in hopes that it could maybe help somebody else the same way that it helped me.
I only recently became familiar with this, with the Heroic Hearts Project. As I was doing research on it, I'm like, this is an incredible, incredible program to have offering alternatives. I was really excited to learn more about this project and the charity and what they're doing.
In the time that I've known them, I mean, it seems like these guys are practically on the footsteps of Capitol Hill every month. I mean, trying to advocate for these programs. When we're in the military, there's obviously not really a lot of space or time for conversation to talk about sending active duty service members to go do ayahuasca in the jungle to help with their struggles. And In addition to that, it's tough for guys that are in to speak up about their mental health concerns because they don't want to let their team down, they don't want to have a stigma around them in their unit, and in some cases you can have security clearances stripped away from you. You can almost have your job removed from you if you speak up about these things. Heroic Hearts Project has made a lot of strides in the right direction to help that. There's a lot of studies being done. So the ball is rolling in the right direction, but it takes testimonials and it takes numbers and it takes, hard data that shows that these things can help this community that's struggling.
When you reached out about getting involved in this event, we have a lot of customers that are active military and or veterans, and I think that there's a lot of parallels between music and motorcycles, because I think both paths are just kind of this give you a certain feeling of liberation and freedom.
Absolutely.
Right, that you can't, there are not many other outlets in life that that for one are so community oriented, and for two that you kind of can come as you are and express yourself, through music and or through riding. Bringing the two together, I think was immediately struck me. And then the idea of bringing in the charity aspect of it was just like a win, win, win all around. So I'm really, really excited and appreciative that you reached out and that we get to be a part of this. We hope you can join us April 6th for the Heroic Hearts charity ride that's going to meet up at the Horse Trailer Hideout on Main Street at 4:30. And then at 6:45, we're going to put kickstands up and we're going to cruise down Main Street to the plaza where Lennon and Mojave Sun are going to perform. We'll have designated motorcycle parking down there, all roped off, so we hope you can join us for the ride. Thanks, Lennon.
Of course, thanks, Tara.